Alrighty, so for the first time in a week, I'm back at home when it comes to doing a video on the board. And it is kind of a little awkward the fact that I did the first part from a hotel and I did the second part from home, but that's just what it is. And that, at least today, get a full complement of the board with all the notes to talk about, and we get to talk about some more exciting game that happened in match week number 5. I actually didn't realize that the international break is going to be next weekend as well. So definitely going to give me a lot of times when it comes to doing video related to the early part of the season. Talk about some teams that are doing well, some of the teams that are not doing well, and most importantly, doing a motion next. The first one of the season, and see which team is going to be very happy with how the start of the season has, and which teams are definitely already in panic mode after 5 games into the season. But with that being said, let us continue talking about the Saturday action. There's only more games we got to talk about on Saturday. We had probably the most Sunday game I've ever seen in a match week, but I guess that's what happened when you have so many Thursday CONCACAF Champions Cup game. Obviously, you cannot have an MLS team play on Thursday and then they play a league game on Saturday as well. That would be absolutely ridiculous scheduling if that's the case. But anyway, let's talk about the next game, which is Austin versus LAFC. So as much as I said before that there are some crazy game this week, there were definitely games where, yeah, it was a bit of a snooze fest at times. And I will say that this game, the last 10 minutes was a little wild. I mean, you can clearly see both of these teams after a game where it was pretty much a snooze fest for the first 80 minutes. Both of these teams were definitely gunning for all 3 points in this one. Now in the first half, Uzuni with the game's first shot, but he puts it high before Tillman puts it wide from close in the 12th minute. It was a couple of half chances for both of these teams, but the shots were 2-1 early for Austin up to this point. Son with that had a shot that was deflected wide before Luis denied Ramirez as the flag went up. We then go for a period where not much really happened, and we do head to halftime, unsurprisingly scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Bouanga would miss wide from close range. LAFC definitely was on the front foot early, and they were looking for the opener. However, Austin looked like they got the opener in the 62nd minute when Uzuni would put the ball into the back net. The problem was they go to VAR to see whether or not if Ile impede the goalkeeper and was in offside position, and he was. As I said many times before, you don't have to touch the ball if you're in the line of the shot that is, and you're in offside position and impeding the goalkeeper. Yeah, that is always going to be called back. So the goal did not count. Still 0-0 up to this point. Ramirez would then head it wide from the corner before Luis tipped Baudry shot over as Austin started to push late to try to get the winner. Baudry would then head it wide in the 81st minute, and then the post would deny Delgado from long range, and all of a sudden, not so fast because now LAFC were looking to push for the opener. Stuver would then deny Bouanga in the near post before Luis on the other end denied Uzuni from long range. Torres would then hit it wide from the corner in the 90 if or the 96 minutes of this game. So yeah, like I said, it was pretty late fireworks when it comes to chances. It feels like both of these teams kind of realized that yeah, the goal of this game is to create chances and win games. And both of these teams didn't realize until late in this one, but unfortunately, it was too little too late as it ends in a 0-0 draw in this one. The shots in this one pretty even. 13 shots for the 12 that Austin has, but only 2 shots on goal for the one that LAFC had. Both teams had 4 shots off target, 4 shots that was blocked for the 6 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 59% possession compared to 41% possession that LAFC has in this game. And overall, I think a draw is definitely fair in this one, consider, again, for the most part, there wasn't really too much chances until there was definitely a lot late in this one, but neither of these teams can capitalize it and get that crucial winner late in this game despite the chances that was created. Now, moving on, in the next one is Vancouver and the San Jose Earthquakes, and I gotta say, Quakes are definitely for real. I think they're definitely for real after this is really just a statement win. And I know there are going to be some people that's going to say, well, Vancouver didn't play their best squad in this one. And there's no doubt that there were some key starters that were missing for the Whitecaps in this one. Probably the keyest one is both Mula and Berhalter not playing. Well, they actually did play, but they didn't start in this one as well. And some people will say, well, it looked like this was a very tired Vancouver team. And in some way, they are correct with the way that the Whitecaps definitely look like they're a little tired coming into this one. This is the 4th game in just the last 2 weeks. We're playing a game every 3 days for the last 2 weeks or so. But still, I mean, I gotta say, for the Quakes to come into Vancouver and once again showing a very good defensive performance, that is probably the biggest surprise I gotta say about this team, and one that I did not see this coming. And I'm definitely might have to do a video talking about this as well, of how shocked I am in terms of how good this defense has been considered. This was a back line that, there are definitely some changes, but for the most part, this was almost a similar back line to last season to give up 70 plus goals. And now here we are, 5 games in the season, and they have got given up 1 goal. And who would have thought the 5 out of the first, or 4 out of the first 5 games, they would keep a clean sheet. I mean, I've said before where clean sheet feels like it's a once in a blue moon for the Quakes, and now it's crazy to see that it's been pretty much happening every single game. Now in the first half, the Whitecaps definitely were dominant possession, which was kind of expected. The Whitecaps are definitely going to take most of the possession in this one. The Quakes did try to counter press in this one, but wasn't really doing that much. And I'm not a big surprise. The Whitecaps, they are definitely a team that, when you try to press them, you got to make sure you do it well, because if you don't, yeah, just as Minnesota, how that worked out for them last week. White would then has the game first shot in the 9th minute, but he puts it over before Judd would heads it over from close in the 16th minute. The shots were definitely one apiece early in this one. Not much chances really created early in this one either. White would then heads it right to Daniel in the 22nd minute before Ocampo puts it over from close in the 28th minute. I know I wrote Tacoca there again. A slight mistake that I made. You're watching a review from my video. You definitely know that I make some mistakes on the board. That's just kind of how it is. Daniel then denied Jackson from close in the 36th minute. The pressure was definitely mounting for the Whitecaps. They were pressing hard to get the opener, but the question is, can they solve Daniel? Because we've seen this before with Daniel. He did this a couple of years ago, where I remember the Quakes won that game 1-0, and I think it was the lone goal was the Espinoza goal, and that's despite the fact that the Quakes only generated 3 shots, and Vancouver had like 20 plus, and Daniel was just a man possessed when it comes to in front of the net. It feels like it seems like we're seeing it again. It seems like he's now back in this 2024 form, making some big save after big save, and he did another one here in the 30th minute, absolutely robbing White, who had a free header there. White then heads it wide from close in the 32nd minute before Ricketts would miss an absolute sitter on the doorstep of goal. And yeah, that is one that Jamar Ricketts would want to have back, and one that the Quakes would want to have back, because you're not going to get a lot of chances in this game, especially against a much superior team. You have to bury it. But the Quakes, to their credit, they did eventually ride out the pressure and look to try to get this to 0-0 at halftime. Vieira had a shot that was deflected and goes wide, but then the second minute of stoppage time, initially the last kick of the first half, Bolaru would score. And it was an absolute banger from Bolaru, though this one probably wouldn't have happened if Takoga didn't fumble the ball and that the Whitecaps had to do some emergency clearance. I mean, take nothing away from Bolaru. He still had a lot to do in terms of making that absolute screamer of a goal from outside box. But yeah, that is one that should never have happened. Then if Takoga would have hold on, if he hold on to this, we probably would have had to halftime with the scoreless between both of these teams. But instead, we had to halftime with the Quakes leading 1-0 against Vancouver in BC Place. Nevertheless, a place that for road team, it hasn't really been a great place for a road team to get points, at least for the last season or so. The Whitecaps have been absolutely dominating and make BC Place an absolute fortress last season. Now in the second half, Sabi would have a free kick that hits right to Danielle. Whitecaps definitely on the front foot and press to try to get the equalizer. White would then hits it right to Danielle before Ocampo did the same thing in the 71st minute. You can kind of sense the frustration was starting to show on this Whitecaps team, but also the fatigue was definitely starting to show on this Whitecaps team. Like, they just didn't have the energy and didn't have it in them to keep going to trying to get the equalizer. And a big part also is the fact that the Quakes were being very disciplined for the most part, defensively throughout this game. Cabrera would then just puts it wide on the curler in the second man of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, the San Jose Earthquakes won another game. They won their fourth game in the last 5 games as well. And as I said, they have only conceded 1 goal so far this season. This is a team that conceded 70 plus goal last season. I honestly am just in disbelief to see how great this defense is. And I'll tell you what, whatever Bruce Arena is working with his visionary when it comes to making this defense so good, that needs to be study. Especially, I would also say, second year Bruce Arena, we always see that his team always tends to do well. That also needs to be studied as well, because this was a team that looked like heading into the season was dead to water, and yet somehow in some way this team has got to the point they are. And again, I'll definitely be focusing, and I think I have a good idea of why things are doing so well for the Quakes, when I'm probably break it down in a video, talk about them during this international break. But yeah, it's safe to say the San Jose Earthquakes are for real. I mean, this they're definitely passing all the tests that everybody's been asking, especially in these last couple of games where them playing some tough opponent, and even in the Seattle game, I even said that they were good in that one and were very unlucky to not get points out of that game. And now that they go to Vancouver and get all 3 points, safe to say that they're definitely for real. Shots in this one: 11 shots for the 7 that the Quakes had, 3 shots on goal for the 6 that Vancouver has, 4 shots off target for the 1 the Quakes had, 3 shots on block for the 1 that Vancouver has, and possession-wise, 60% possession compared to 40% possession that the Quakes has in this game. And ironically, last season when the Vancouver Whitecaps start the season 4-0, the 5th game they lost at Chicago at home. It's pretty much deja vu all over again, and that team only made it all the way to MLS Cup. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much panic for Whitecaps fans. Yes, I will say that in the beginning of this season under Jasper Sorensen, they definitely haven't played as good as they have last season. But again, that feels like was a high expectation because last season they were just an absolute wagon in the beginning of the year, and I definitely didn't expect them to try to do the same thing again this year. But for the most part, they're still a very good team. There shouldn't be too much worry if you're a Whitecaps fan after this performance, especially with the way that this is another prime example and a great reminder that playing CONCACAF Champions Cup and MLS and battling both competition at the same time is not an easy task whatsoever, and you're already going to expect some drop points there and there throughout those time. Now, moving on into the next game. Now let's talk about the Sunday game that is, and let's talk about the most controversial game of this week when it comes to a call, because yeah, you knew this was gonna happen. You knew that an MLS season is not or a big game happened in MLS in a regular season is not without a big controversial call, and there were definitely a big controversial call late in this game that really got NYCFC upset, and I think they have rightfully so to be upset after this controversial call that we'll talk about. Now, in the first half, there was a shout for a penalty for the so-called away Miami fans not giving. Again, so-called because, let's be honest, they're not really from Miami. Most of them are just there to see Messi play. It was pretty much a very partisan Messi fan crowd in this one, and they got something to celebrate in the 4th minute when Gonzalo Lujan scored a rare goal here to give Miami a 1-0 lead. Savetti then hits it right to Freeze before he Freeze would deny Messi, but then it falls to Segovia, who puts that one over on the rebound. It's safe to say that Miami definitely they were playing angry, and again I expect that was the case. I mean, after that embarrassing seeing a resort against Nashville, drawing 1-1 and getting eliminated in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, you would expect Javier Mascherano team to play with a lot of fire in this one. But in the 16th minute, game was all tied up because Fernandez Markel, who has been just red hot right now when it comes to goal scoring, he scored another one here, and he scored on a beautiful free kick there that goes completely against the run of play because it was the first shot for NYCFC and the first real good attack that NYCFC had in this game. And just like that, the game was tied up at 1 apiece. Mikael did look to respond, but he puts it wide before the post would deny Messi from long range. Yeah, it's safe to say that the post was not Messi's best friend in this one. He hit it a couple of times in this game. Miami definitely pressed again, this time to try to get the lead back. Morales would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Freeze would deny Messi, but then gave up a rebound and was very fortunate to not be punished as a result. And then in the 42nd minute, the post would deny Messi again. See, I told you the post was not Messi, friend, in this one. He hit it twice in the first half. And yeah, if it wasn't for the post and Matt Freese, this could have easily been 3 or 4-1 in favor of Inter Miami. Messi would then miss wide from close in the 44th minute, but we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece, despite the fact that Miami was pretty much dominating in this one. Now, in the second half, Savetti would then puts it wide from close. Miami kind of picked up where they left off, trying to get the lead. But in the 58th minute, once again, completely against the run of play, NYCFC would take the lead as Augustino Heda would score for Morales and O2 to give NYCFC the lead. And yeah, that was just vintage Maxi Morales. And I know the focus obviously is going to be on Lionel Messi, but about Maxi Morales, he is definitely a legendary Argentine time in this league, even though he's not more well known from anywhere else besides MLS. But he's shown again, kind of almost showcased this countryman that yeah, he can also put a sublime pass, and his countryman basically responded with a goal because that lead would be short-lived. As 3 minutes later, Messi would tie the game up off of a free kick. It actually took a deflection as well, and Freeze tried to readjust himself, couldn't quite do so. I also got a question: the wall there that Freeze said, it really wasn't a great wall that was set there, and yeah, as a result, NYCFC was punished, and just like that, the game was tied up at two apiece. By the way, that free kick goal was significant as well because that's the 71st free kick goal that Lionel Messi has scored in his career, and that passed him the legendary Pele in terms of the free kick goal. It's not the most in that it's scored by a player, but to pass Pele in terms of scoring the most free kick goal, yeah, it just kind of shows you why Messi is definitely the goat in this generation. Fernandez Markel did look to respond, but he denied by Dane Sinclair. By the way, I know, Ronaldo fans and CR7 fans are gonna be in the comment section and be angry at me for that. Again, I'm not picking side. I'm just maybe stating just the fact that Messi is definitely playing out of the world, at least in these last couple of years in the league. And then he tried to score here in the 73rd minute, but his shot was deflected wide. But in the 74th minute, Miami takes the lead again, as Mikael would score from Allen and Ayala to give Miami the lead. So yeah, two very unlikely stories. You would have never guessed it that Luan and Mikael, two guys that are considered center backs, would be scoring for Miami, and you definitely do not expect the fact that there's two center backs combining on a goal and on the primary assist. But that's exactly what happened here, and just like that, Miami leads at 3-2 in this game. But then this is where we talk about the controversial moment, and this is where again I think NYCFC have rights to be mad about this because a couple of weeks ago we saw this similar situation where Maxime Crepeau got a red card when he came off his lines and intentionally handled the ball outside the box. Dane Sinclair basically did the same thing in this one as well, and I think he is very lucky that he got away with this one. And I feel like this one was even more clear as day as the Crepeau one as well. So yeah, cue all the conspiracy theories about Miami getting the favoritism with it, the league or so forth, because yeah, this was definitely a blown call, and this is one that unfortunately NYCFC fans would definitely be using this as a way to say, hey, this is another example of the fact that why the league is really against Inter Miami. Messi would then hits it right to freeze in the 84th minute before Bertarame would heads it over from the corner. By the way, Bertarame didn't start in this one. He came off the bench, and it didn't go so well for me either. He actually did score a goal in the 78th minute, but of course, because of the fact that he snaked in, his goal was disallowed earlier in this one. Freeze would then miss wide from the corner, and by the way, the goal was disallowed because of an offside. Oh, I say Freeze missed wide from the corner. I actually skipped the part where Magno would have a shot that deflect wide, and then Matt Freeze of all player would miss wide from the corner. So here you have defender scoring goals, and now goalkeeper almost scoring goal. It's just one of those games and one of those weekend where yeah, things were pretty wild when it comes to the goal scoring, and it's about to get a lot wilder as we'll talk about this game in just a bit. But in the 90th minute, Magno had a shot that was deflected wide before Freeze would miss wide from the corner. Oh, I already said that earlier. But yeah, that was kind of an absurd move and a very bold move from Matt Freeze as well, because I thought that was really early for him to come off his lines to trying to score there, especially where even into stoppage time. I mean, usually you don't see the goalkeeper come out to take a shot from a corner that early in this one. But Dane Sinclair then denied O'Neal from long range before Pinter would miss wide from long range in the 6 minute stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, Miami does get the 3-2 win in this game, albeit definitely very controversial because of the blown call we saw in the 75th minute. Shots in this one, 22 shots for the 10 that NYCFC had, 5 shots on York for the 8 that Miami had, 6 shots off target for the 2 that NYCFC had, 6 shots that was blocked for the 3 that NYCFC had, and possession-wise, 56% possession compared to 44% possession that NYCFC has in this game. And although, yes, NYCFC have every rights to be mad about this resort, especially if that call was being correct, maybe this game probably wouldn't be how it ended. But at the end of the day, when you look at this whole game, Miami was just a better team in this one. And while there is definitely still question on their defensive end, the attack was definitely on point in this game. This is what the attack should be for Inter Miami. None of that of what we see in the beginning of the season, how much the attack has been very criticized because of the way that they've been very methodical and also just very lackluster going for in front of goal. And if this is kind of how the attack is going to look for Inter Miami, especially if Messi continue to do his magic, yeah, not a lot of team is going to stop them, even if there is going to be some controversial call along the way. Now, moving on into the last game on this board. Now let's talk about the other early Sunday game because yeah, these Sunday games, especially the early ones, were absolutely wild, and this one was no different. And I gotta say, for Montreal, I'm pretty sure they are hoping that they will not spend the rest of the season with a man up for the rest of the season because this is twice this season that they've been up a man in a game, and both time they lost those games as well. So it started well for them because in the first half, Wiki Carmona would score from Owusu and Hidalgo to give Montreal 1-0 lead. It was also the game first shot as well, and while it was a banger from Carmona, yeah, there was zero closing down there for him. And with the way that Ricky Carmona has looked pretty good so far to begin the season for Montreal, yeah, you would think that that Cincinnati defense would maybe think about closing him down. They didn't. They got punished. Sinchuk did look for another, but he puts it over. Montreal definitely the better side early in this one. Cincinnati, they just looked like they were still reeling from that T-risk resort. And I'm not surprised. I mean, you knew that coming into this game. The big question coming in is that can they respond after just such a massive collapse that they had against Alvocon? Probably the biggest collapse we have ever seen an MLS team had in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Morales would then hits it high from close before the first shot for Cincy did see Buka had a shot that was deflected wide. Sinchuk would then hits it right to Loro in the 21st minute. So Saltano didn't play in this one, and I don't blame the fact that Pat Nolan maybe go with a goalkeeping change because yeah, Saltano after giving up 5 goals against Tigres and part of that collapse, I'm pretty sure it might not be a great idea to put your starting goalkeeper in this one after getting absolutely shell in the last game. Longstaff then puts it wide from long range, and I even though they put in Loro in this one, I don't think Loro had a good game in this one either as well. Gillier would then deny Echenike from close, but then in the 39th minute, he would be on target as he scored from Pau and Miazga to tie the game up at one apiece. Evander then looked to take the lead, but he hits it right to Gillier. The momentum was definitely with Cincinnati. They were now pressing to try to get the lead. However, in the 45th minute, Owusu would scored to give Montreal the lead back. So yeah, this was just criminal defending there from Cincinnati. There, I mean, there was just so much ball watching from this Cincinnati defense. Which again, defense that has to be a huge concern for Cincinnati this season. As bad as things have gone to the beginning of the season, what is so alarming is the fact that this defense for many years under Pat Nolan was supposed to be one of the better defense in the league, and this year, I mean, they have just completely fell off the map. Now, I mean, this is something you just don't see previous Cincinnati team do in the past, especially on the defensive end. Just ball watching, they're allowing Wolves to go in behind. It was just way too easy, and just like that, Montreal retake the lead, and they would take the lead heading into the second half. In the second half, Jabari would put it wide on the curler, but then in the 52nd minute, he would score. This time from Echenike and Buka to tie the game up at two apiece. Yeah, I have a feeling that this is going to be one of those games where defense is going to be all optional because we know Montreal they don't have a defense whatsoever, but with the way that Cincinnati also don't have a defense in this one, buckle up, boys and girls. It feels like this is going to be a wild one again. Gillier would then deny Evander from long range before a penalty was given to Montreal as Robinson brought down Owusu in the box. Again, this feels unlike Cincinnati. You usually do not see Miles Robinson make this kind of mistake here. Nealis bringing down Owusu in the box, and he also paid the price as well. He got a red card in this one. I thought that was kind of harsh. I guess it's for dog so, but I feel like, in my opinion, where's the double jeopardy rule that was implied? I thought the double jeopardy rule probably should have been implied in this one, but instead, Cincinnati were down to 10 men. Montreal has the penalty to take the lead again, and they do exactly that as Owusu put the ball in the back net from the spot, and just like that, Montreal was leading in this one. But remember, last time Montreal were up a man in this one, it didn't go so well against Chicago. Would things change in this game? Well, Owusu did try to make it 4-2, trying to look for the hat trick, but he puts it over. But then in the 80th minute, Cincinnati would respond as Tom Barlow would tie the game up at 3 apiece. Again, defense pretty much completely optional up to at this point. Julia did get something onto this one, couldn't quite keep this one out. Probably should have done better in that moment. In the 82nd minute, Rios did look for the lead back, but he heads it high before Morales heads it high to Lauro in the 89th minute. We get 12 minutes of stoppage time because why not? I mean, this game is already chaotic enough. I just had a feeling this game wasn't going to stay tied at 3 apiece, and I was right because in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Kevin Denke would score to make it 4-3 in this one. And yeah, this was a goal where, first of all, Eric Ramsey would be proud because this feels like a very Eric Ramsey goal with a long throw in that got the flank, but it was actually off of a Montreal player last, and nobody was marking Denke in the back post. Yeah, that definitely is a choice from Montreal, and kind of just sums up this game where defense pretty much not really a thing in this one, and just like that, Cincinnati takes the lead 4-3, trying to complete an incredible comeback. Vera did look to respond, but he puts it right to Lauro. Cincinnati definitely in survival mode late, trying to hold on as Montreal pressed to make it four apiece. Rios would then hit it wide from close in the 13-minute stoppage time, but in the end, Cincinnati does hold on. Huge win for Cincinnati. This is a win that they absolutely needed after the massive collapse that they had against Tigres, and it kind of just maybe showed that maybe Pat Nolan's side does have some good mentality left in the tank, because the response after that collapse that they had in El Volcan to be able to come from behind. Even I know if Montreal, we know that they're a team that doesn't play defense, especially when they're up a man. This is still an incredible resort. The shots in this one, 15 shots for the 21 that Montreal had, 7 shots on goal for the 8 that Cincinnati has, 4 shots off target for the 7 that Montreal has, 5 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Montreal has in this game. And I also know that maybe some cynical Cincinnati fans will say that, well, this result isn't really that impressive because we know Montreal is a bad team, and that, yeah, them just barely scraped by. It shouldn't be so much of a applause. But I feel like, yes, well, I know there's still a lot of issues that Cincinnati has to address, especially their defense. I mean, that is a huge concern for the rest of the season. But I think the context of this, and just the fact that after that disastrous collapse that they had against Tigres, as I said, they need a response in this one, and they could definitely feel sorry from themselves after going down 3-2 and get the got themselves down to 10 men in this one. But again, Pat Nolan's side, they are known to show some fight in the past. It feels like they once again showed that fight in this one as well, and maybe this might be a sign that maybe Cincinnati is not dead and Barry, as I think a lot of Cincinnati fans worry, including myself was worried after that massive collapse that they had against Tigres down in Mexico and El Volcan. With that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last 3 games to finish up the review of match week number 5. All right, so now let's talk about Minnesota versus the Seattle Sounders. So, like I said, there were games this week that was incredibly exciting, and then there were games like this one between the Loons and the Sounders. And to be fair, as much as it was a very boring game for the most part, and neither of these teams really created too many dangerous chances, I'm just kind of happy the fact that at least the Loons responded well on the defensive end, because anytime when you give up 6 goals like they did in the last game and 9 in the last two game, and now you have to face against one of the more dangerous attack that is the Seattle Sounders in this one, definitely a much better response for the Loons, at least on the defensive end in this game. Now in the first half, the Sounders were definitely on the front foot. The Loons once again did not start on time again. This is definitely a theme that I've started to see with Cameron Knowles team, where they always tends to not start off well, and that's a huge concern because you cannot have these kind of things happen every single game where you don't start on time and you go behind the 8 ball like they did against Vancouver and in some way against Nashville as well. So that is definitely something that they absolutely need to address. Even if they are playing against some strong opponent, there's no excuse in terms of not starting on time, and it happened again in this one. Manungu would then heads it high from close. The shots were 2-0 early for the Sounders early in this one. It feels like Minnesota was going back to their old self in this one, trying to go on the counter attack, trying to play that Eric Ramsey ball that I'm pretty sure Cam knows probably weren't happy that they were going back to their old selves. So yeah, unsurprisingly, I mean, they did get a little bit more possession as the game goes along, but yeah, there was not really a lot of success when it comes to this show. And throughout this season, one thing I've noticed is that Minnesota has tried to get more possession in this team, and that's kind of something that Cam knows is almost forced to put this team in. But it just kind of feels like with the new style that this team has had, we're still seeing the old habit of them just kind of bunkering in and countering. And I'm not surprised that's the case, because anytime when a new head coach implement a new system in that is completely different to the last one, it takes time to get things correct. And right now I think this is just kind of the growing pains of the fact that, yes, I see the idea that Minnesota wants to be more aggressive going forward, especially the press as well. they're not doing a really good job because more times than not, you have players on this team still trying to revert back to the Eric Ramsey way of just kind of defense and maybe hope for the counterattack to work out and also set piece chances as well. In the 29th minute, Rodon had a shot that struck the post off the deflection, which was probably the closest we came from seeing a goal. But there was no doubt that Seattle was getting closer, and you kind of had a sense that maybe the opener was imminent. They were creating a lot of dangerous chances up to this point. Pekovic would then puts it high from long range before Yoboa puts it wide, as that was Minnesota's first shot as well. Minnesota definitely started to grow into this one, which is not a big surprise because that's kind of been a theme for this team where they start off slow, but things does get better as the game goes along. In the 43rd minute, we see um what's going on here? Oh, Di Rosario. Sorry, I couldn't read my handwriting for a second. How embarrassing that is. But Di Rosario had it tapped in there, but Calendar just about palmed away in the final moment, and that was huge too because if Calendar didn't intervene, Di Rosario had it tapped in the back post. So we do head to halftime, scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Sounders they were on the front foot as Minnesota giving away way too many set piece opportunity. And I know the Sounders might not be one of the better set piece team in this league, especially with the ball delivering in the box, but you can't give them that many chances on the set piece. Manungu would then hits it right to counter before Kosi Renzi would puts it high from close range. It feels like this game had no written all over it. There wasn't really too many quality chances besides maybe in the beginning of the first half for the Sounders. There was definitely a huge ovation as James Rodriguez finally made his long awaited Allianz Field debut. Although for him to get only 12 minutes in this game, that is definitely criminal. I thought he would have got more minutes and maybe even start in this one. Markenik would then puts it high from close before Rusnak hits the sign ending from close range. Dean then had a looping header that was tipped over by Thomas. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a scoreless draw in this one. Shots in this one, only 6 shots for Minnesota in this one compared to 11 that Seattle has. Both teams had 2 shots on goal, 2 shots off target for the 4 that the Sounders had, 5 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Minnesota has, and possession-wise, 35% possession compared to the 65% possession the Sounders has in this game. And, while obviously I said before that the defense definitely played much better in this game against the Sounders, the attack did. The attack was pretty woeful in this one. The only time when the attack really got things going was when James came into this game, which I'm not a big surprise because he's definitely could be a difference maker for this team, and he can unlock defense like nobody's business. But yeah, that's going to be something that is definitely going to be a concern, especially with the way that this team only have scored 4 goals so far to begin the season. I mean, they've got shut out again. They haven't scored a goal ever since trying to score an absolute banger back in the 35th minutes against Nashville. So yeah, that the goals are definitely dried up for this team, and this is where you just hope that James Rodriguez get his fitness back as soon as possible because he could definitely be a guy that can really unlock this opposition defense. But for the Sounders, I think they'll take this draw. I mean, obviously they want 3 points, but keep in mind the Sounders they have played a lot of games, just like what I said about Vancouver and all these teams that participate in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. But what makes it even tough for the Sounders is that they have had a lot of road games to begin the season. I mean, besides the home opener that they had against the Sounders, they have played 5 straight road game in the league. And I know they did had a home game in the last game as well against Vancouver, but it wasn't really a home game for them. I mean, it was in a neutral venue in Spokane. I know it's in the same state, but it's not the home venue for the Sounders, so not in their comfortable confine as well. That definitely adds up in terms of the psychological. When you're on the road for so long like that, you just cannot wait to get yourself back to the friendly confine. And the good news for the Sounders is the fact they will eventually get there, and the fact that throughout this stretch, even though they haven't got as much points as you would think that they should get. I mean, anytime when you are able to get points on the board, which they definitely have gone so far. Actually, let me revert why I said they haven't got as much point. They actually have got a lot of points doing this beginning of the stretch, and the fact that they're able to pick that up and knowing that they're going to have a heavy home stretch coming up, I think the Sounders would absolutely take it, and this definitely could be a dangerous team to watch and can rise up in the standings in the near future as well. Now, let's talk about the next game, which is the Portland Timbers versus the LA Galaxy. So, anytime when both of these teams play against each other, you expect fireworks to happen because that just seems like that's always the case when we see a Timbers versus Galaxy match. Unfortunately, we didn't really quite get that in this game, and I think a big part of it is the red card that happened in this one. And that also is a common theme in terms of this week, where we talk about some games that is kind of feast or famine when it comes to goals. But this week, the big headline in terms of this overall week is that we had 4 games this week that feature a red card. So yeah, that's a lot of games that we saw this weekend where a red card was shown. In the first half, Peck would hit one right to Pantemis. That was the game's first shot, but the first shot for the Portland Timbers, it's in the back of the net as Valde would score from Antonio and Ortiz to give the Timbers a 1-0 lead. It was a beautiful build up there for the Portland Timbers as well. Well, they deserved a goal, but they immediately hit a big setback because in the 21st minute, Kamal Miller would get a straight red here as VAR deemed that his foul on Kloss was a serious foul play. I was kind of confused why the announcer feels very confused that that was a red card because anytime when you step on an opponent Achilles, I mean that is studs up all the time, and that's definitely in danger of player safety as well. So yeah, rightfully so. It was a red card there, just a silly red card there for Kamal Miller. Not the first time we said that happened because his career with the Portland Timbers has been rocky at best. In the 22nd minute, Bai would hit one right to Marcinkowski before Klaus would hit one right to Pantemis. Pantemis then denied Klaus in the near post, and definitely with the man advantage, the Galaxy were pressing hard to try to get the equalizer, and they got it as in the 30th minute. And third time is the charm for Joe Klaus, as on the third time he had a chance, he put that in as he scored from Royce and Peck to tie the game up at one apiece. But that goal came off a bad turnover for the Timbers. Yeah, when you commit a bad turnover and you're already down a man in this game, yeah, that is a recipe for disaster. Rightfully punished because of that. So yeah, the game was tied up at one apiece. Tommy would then look for another, but he was denied by Pantemis. The Galaxy, they can definitely smell blood because this Timbers back line, they look very disorganized ever since they went down a man. And even with them subbing in a defender as well. It just feels like they were just too discombobulated in this one, and they're probably fortunate the fact that they were head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Ortiz would head it wide from close. I thought it was a better start for the Timbers in this one. So one of the rare time, whatever Phil Neville said to this team, it definitely worked out because they looked much better coming out of the break, not really allowing the Galaxy too many chances. Peck would then hit one right to Pantemes before Royce would put it wide from long range in the 62nd minute. Galaxy continue to look for the lead, but for the most part, most of these chances are kind of low XG chances, pretty easy for the Timbers to deal with. There was a half-hearted shout for a penalty for the Galaxy not given. Kloss would then hits it right to Pandemes. The Galaxy continue to try to get that lead, but as the story of this season, for the most part, they just aren't able to generate too many dangerous chances, and the finishing was just not there. Peck would then puts it wide from close in the 79th minute before Anthony had a rare opportunity for the Timbers in the second half, but puts it high. Cuevas would then puts it to Washington State in the 86th minute. Yeah, that shot just kind of sums up the Timbers up to or not the Timbers, I'm sorry, but the Galaxy up to that part. I mean, just very lifeless going for in this game. Ortiz would then puts it right to Mark Sinkowski as the Timbers definitely looking like they're trying to steal this one because again, just because you're up a man doesn't mean that you're down and out in the game. I mean, just ask Cincinnati this week. Peck would then flash a wide off of a deflection. He did appeal to try to maybe get a handball call. The referee was not interested. But yeah, in the end, it ends in a 1-1 draw in this one. The shots in this one, 20 shots compared to 9 that the Timbers had. 7 shots on goal compared to 3 that the Timbers had. 3 shots that was off target compared to 2 that the Galaxy had. 11 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Timbers had in this one. So it was really a block party for the Timbers back line in this one. And possession wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession the Portland Timbers has in this one. And normally, I usually don't say the home team is probably the more happier side to get a point compared to the road team, but this is definitely that exception. I mean, there's no doubt the Portland Timbers will be happy to take away a point, and especially of how bad they have defended this season. The fact that they definitely done one of their best defensive display, despite the fact that they're down to 10 men in this game, just kind of shows you that hey, that's why this game sometimes is weird, but that maybe is gonna be an encouragement for Timbers fans seeing that yeah, they at least fix their defense a bit because that has been a huge liability and is the reason why this team has been where they are in the standings. But for the Galaxy, again, it's the same old. Just they're finishing and their attack. Just something seems like it's off again with this attack. And I know the easy answer would be Ricky Puig But as I said, for coming into this season, even though I know the Ricky Puig injury and the latest setback is going to really hurt this team chances, you would have expect maybe some other guys on this team would set up like guys like Painto and Peck, which I talked about like a couple of times, but I didn't really talk about Painto in this one, and he was really active in this one as well. The fact that those guys are not contributing, yeah, there's got to be a lot of concern if you're the LA Galaxy, and the fact that it just feels like it's very similar to last season over again. A slow start to the beginning of the season, and when they finally started to maybe make some changes to the team, it may be too little, late in terms of this team trying to make it back to the playoffs and avoid missing out on the playoffs for the second consecutive year as well. Now, moving on, in the last game on this board, it's RSL and San Diego, and I gotta say, I talk about the San Jose Earthquakes being a surprise package. RSL is equally as big of a surprise package in the Western Conference. And what is surprising for RSL is that one, this was supposed to be a transitional year for this team, especially getting rid of all the guys that they did and all the veteran player. Who would have thought that the answer for RSL woes in these last couple of season and these underachieving season is the fact that they just need to go back to the well. RSL is always known to develop some good young talented player. They have one of the best academy, and all the players from Real Montauk seems like they could be a good starting fit for an MLS team as well. And it's proven again in this one. I mean, these young guns for RSL, and the fact that it feels like they finally got some of these signing to a hit, guys like Olatunji and Gilgi as well. For once, it feels like now finally for once that RSL started to fulfill the potential that they probably should have had the last couple years, as we see. Now in the first half, Ingvartsen with the game's first shot, but he hits it over from close range. But then in the 17th minute, RSL takes the lead as Sergei Serlans would score from Sanabria to give RSL a 1-0 lead. Serlans is another guy that I would not be surprised he could be a 10 plus goal scorer. He has been very good alongside with all these good young RSL guns that you probably haven't heard a lot about in the beginning of the season, but you definitely have heard about them, especially the fact that again, Real Monarchs, they once again are doing it again when it comes to producing some really great young talent. And it was also the first shot for RSL as well, so extra bonus the fact that they capitalized on it. Vasquez did look to respond, but he was denied by Cabral. But then in the 29th minute, San Diego does tie the game up. I believe Ingvartsen is still credited as the goal. I didn't really quite double check to see if it maybe changed to an own goal, because that was just kind of pinball action there that somehow went into the back of the net. So yeah, a little unfortunate for RSL in that moment, but yeah, San Diego ties the game up at one apiece. They did check to see whether or not if there was potentially an offside on the developed play. I didn't really see any of that, so the goal, of course, was being stand. Gilavugi did look to response, but he missed way wide. That actually ended up to be a throw in rather than a corner. But the goal definitely didn't rattle this RSL team, and that's kind of the thing that I got out of this game, where the fact that we know San Diego is a very good team and they can easily turn that momentum in their favor. RSL was not letting them in this one. These young guns were going toe to toe, and every time when they concede it, this team have definitely shown a lot of maturity to show that hey, we're gonna get back up and basically keep fighting in this one. Gozo would then have a shot that was deflected wide from the corner before Gilavogi would have a shot that was deflected wide. Duo would then clear Dylan's shot off the line as well. I mean, just a legendary clearance there from Manu Dua, a guy that it was pretty clear that they missed badly in that Toluca game. Over the middle of the week in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And then they actually did blow for the halftime whistle, but then this is probably something I've never seen before. But the referee told everybody to come back on to the pitch because there was a potential handball that maybe could be called, but VAR says no. So yeah, we then finally get the proper halftime whistle, and we head to halftime with the game tied up at one apiece. In the second half, Gozo would miss wide from long range before Dry puts it right to Cabral. Both teams definitely exchanging some chances early, trying to get the crucial second goal. Gilavogi did try to do so, and he was in on goal there, but he was absolutely robbed by Freire there in the 56th minute. And yeah, that would be a costly miss because on the other end, Dry would capitalize his chances for Pellegrino to give San Diego a 2-1 lead, and that's what happened when you face against a good team like San Diego. You have to take your chances. As good as RSL has created some dangerous chances, if you don't put away, the other team will probably most likely do, especially a good team like San Diego. And like I said, just an absolute backbreaker for RSL. 1 minute, they literally had a chance to take the lead, and now they're behind for the first time in this game. There was then they checked to see whether or not if there was a penalty there when they checked to see whether or not if Justin Glenn handballed it. VAR says no. It's a debatable call, but I think in the end, and that's just one of those one where it can definitely go on either way. So if it goes with no penalty, I'm not going to complain too much about it. Olatunji would then hits it right to Furry from close before Drywood puts it wide from close in the 71st minute. That came off a bad turnover from RSL, and that started to become a bit of a theme late in this game where they were turning the ball over way too much against San Diego. You just can't do that over and over again. Olatunji then tried to backheel one in, but once again it was clear off the line by Monodua. I mean, Monodua just had a secretary of defense with all the goal line clearance that he had in this one. But in the 84th minute, Fury would deny Sanabria from close range, but then the 86th minute, RSL ties the game up, and this is not a big surprise. Like I said, every time when RSL had a setback in this one, this team just keeps showing that they have that fight. As Olatunji would score from Gilavogi and Kaliskin to tie the game up at 2 apiece. I even wrote that's been coming because these young guns they don't know the meaning of quit. Like they keep fighting in this one, even with all the setbacks that they had. And then in the 88th minute, we saw a red card happen as McVeigh got a second yellow card in this one, and you can sense that RSL they smell blood. They want all 3 points in this one. Olatunji would head it set wide from the corner. RSL definitely pressing hard to try to get the lead with a man advantage, and then Olatunji would head it right to Fury in the 7 minute of stoppage time. But yeah, in the end, it does ends in a 2-2 draw on this one. By the way, I didn't put the stats on this game because I ran out of room, so I'm just gonna look on the MLS website real quick to give you guys um, the stat line for this game. Give me 1 second here. Oh, well, so my computer is not cooperating the way I wanted to. So, yeah. You know what? I might just go there to get my phone. Oh, no. There we go. It looks like it is appearing. Is it? No? Is it not doing it? Oh, no, never mind. There we go. Okay, so the stats in this game, starting with the shots, there was 21 shots compared to 14 that San Diego has. 8 shots on goal compared to 5 that San Diego has. 2 shots off target for the 6 that RSL had. 7 shots was blocked for the 5 that San Diego has. And possession-wise, 58% possession compared to 43% possession that RSL has in this game. So RSL actually had more chances that San Diego has, and definitely looked like they were not afraid of San Diego in this one, and that just kind of shows you how good RSL is this season. Between them and the San Jose Earthquakes, they are by far two of the biggest surprise package this season. I definitely did not see this coming with the way that both of these teams would really go toe to toe against some of the best team in the West, and that also kind of just shows you that I know in the West right now maybe there's a gap between the top four and the rest of the pack as well, especially with the quality that they are. I don't think it's as much of a big of a gap as well. I mean, everybody talk about the likes of LAFC, San Diego, Vancouver, and even in some cases Seattle as being the top dog of the Western Conference. But don't forget about teams like RSL and the San Jose Earthquakes, and even FC Dallas as well. Those are teams that are definitely right there for the picking as well. And at least what we've seen with RSL in this one, even didn't get the win in this one. This has got to be a very promising performance if you're an RSL fan, going toe to toe against one of the best team in the league in San Diego and able to get a good result and almost got a win in this one as well. They're going to be very proud of themselves after this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all of these games from match week number 5. Again, we're going to spend 2 weeks without doing one of this because of the international break. And for once, we don't actually have games during the international break, although I think that's probably the case. I got to double check again, but I'm pretty sure we don't have any games that's going to be happening during the international break. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.